Welcome, Wisco Dice fans. Today we had an opportunity to interview the head of Dead Lemon Games. Dead Lemon Games is a fairly new company looking to release a Kickstarter in the zombie genre. So without further ado, let's dig in. This is Matt Failer. Today I am here for Wisco Dice. We're talking with Shelby Matusik from Dead Lemon Games. How are you today, Shelby?
I am fantastic. It is the morning time. I have my coffee here, so I'm just waking up, but I am becoming a person.
All right, fantastic. So, today we want to talk a little bit about The Lonely Undead. The Lonely Undead is currently a Kickstarter project. It is live, but can you talk to us a little bit about what is The Lonely Undead?
Absolutely. Lonely Undead is a passion project of mine, a board game. It was kind of born out of in a lot of ways out of the pandemic. Sort of opened up some time and some space in a lot of different situations for me where I was able to kind of focus on some creative outlets and really focus on this game idea and design I had on a back burner for a while. But kind of skipping through that a little bit and getting to exactly what Lonely Undead is. Lonely Undead is, as I said, a board game. It's sort of an adventure crawler. Plays in around 60 to 90 minutes for 1 to 4 players. And it is a zombie themed board game, but it is way different from all zombie games of the past. It plays from the zombies' perspective and basically takes all the sort of recycled stereotypes of old zombie games or what you think a zombie board game might be like and completely flips them on their head and does everything different. So in the game, you are playing as a zombie. From the zombie's perspective, you are recently infected and you are kind of confused and scared and lonely. And you are seeking solidarity, seeking friendship. The only way you know how to make friends, unfortunately for some people, is to attack, bite, and infect the locals. So your objective is to move around this town, sort of having interactions with other players and the local townsfolk and trying to fight them and infect them and make them your friends.
That is such an interesting twist on the genre. That is one of the things that's really fascinating as we were looking through your materials on the game. So, what is the game experience like? How would somebody play the game? How do the mechanics work inside the game?
So the game is broken up into two phases. It's broken up into what is called the Z phase, which are the zombies, and that is essentially the players' turns, where the players will take turns performing a number of actions. As I said, it's kind of an adventure crawler, so it's set up like a dungeon crawler. There is a map that has a sort of a grid system that you move around in with your little character standee. There are living tokens on the board that you will interact with and engage with in hopes of making them your friends. And you perform a number of actions, like I said, such as moving. There is resources, a deck of resources that you can sort of draw to help gain certain skills and items that might help you accomplish your goals. And then you can apply those items, apply those skills to sort of help you out. After you're done with your turn, then it moves on to the next player. They'll take their turn performing their number of actions. Of course, same objectives that you sort of have, but all at the same time watching out for you and as well as the town. Because after the player turns are done, it moves on to the town phase, which is essentially the game's AI. It works in a manner to create this thematic element that the town is set up thematically, and the story is set up thematically to be on the very beginning of an event, the beginning and the verge of a zombie event, not necessarily the normal sort of setting for a zombie game where it's in the middle of some sort of apocalyptic event. But these townsfolk, they don't really know exactly what's going on yet, and you as the zombie kind of are figuring it out yourself. But so they're pretty unsuspicious. So your goal, of course, is to move around the town and kind of try to blend in and to try to keep your presence kind of low on the radar so you can successfully try to make some friends without them noticing. So during the town phase, the players will draw reactions from a deck, and they have a number of unique consequences, unique sort of dynamic reactions that could cause events to happen in the town. There's some really fun like I said, some fun dynamic reactions, such as dogs that might be chasing after you and trying to remove your limbs, which represent your ability to play. And there is also cars that can be swerving through town, through the middle of town, that could possibly hit you or hit other people and cause all sorts of fun, sort of crazy events. So yeah, the two phases of the game, like I said, player turns, performing the actions, and then moving on to the town, the AI phase, which is always there to sort of, react to your shenanigans and make consequences to the mayhem you're causing in the town.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating. I like that there's this interesting competitive element, but you're merging it with sort of like the elements that I've seen in other games where you're sort of playing against the board as well. So there's some cooperative, but also some very competitive. I want to have more friends than you do. So,
Yeah, the competitive mode is set up basically like a race. You are trying to be the first Z to infect 7 people, and if you are the first Z to infect 7 people, then you essentially win in the competitive mode. And like I said, the game's AI that's fighting against you is always in play. So when you move over to the other modes, such as the cooperative mode, because there is a solo and a cooperative mode as well. In the cooperative mode, you're basically just teaming up with the other Z's. In that mode, you will be working together to essentially try to convert the entire town. So you're working together to try to collectively infect 15 friends rather than using your resources and using your objective to work against other people or try to be the first to accomplish your goals. You're trying to figure out how you can work together and combine your different strengths, because the players do have asymmetrical powers and different sort of interactions they have with the town and their character. So you're working together to try to basically convert the whole town, all the while during the town phase, of course, everyone is being affected by those reactions, and they sort of ramp up. If you're not doing a good job at making friends and you're accidentally killing people, which is what you don't want, it's a bad thing in this game for people to be dying. It kind of adds to an escalated meter known as the death toll, which gives consequences out and they become progressively worse. Then you lose. Essentially, there's a number of ways to lose and only one way to win. Sort of like a pandemic sort of style.
mhm.
4 ways to lose, one way to win. Cooperative mode.
Yeah, that is an awesome addition to a game because it's always nice to have multiple ways and methods to play the same game. I think it really improves replayability quite a bit. So,
Yeah, replayability was something I definitely had at the top of my list and the top and always the forefront of my mind when I was designing and developing the game for sure.
so what is it that really makes you super excited about this game?
I there's a couple of things. The genre spin is really fun and refreshing. I like that I'm sort of trying to breathe new life into this sort of almost what some people would say a flooded market or a flooded genre with zombie games. I mean, there's still like a massive amount of people and fan base for zombie games, of course, but then there's a lot of people that are kind of worn out by the genre as well. So one of the reasons why I really stuck with the theme was because I really wanted to show that you could be creative with it, that there is still a lot of room, and that there's fun things you can do that really kind of play into also like who I am as a person. My design style is instead of these dark tones and sort of these sort of darker themes and violence and gore focused on certain zombie games, I wanted to make it really fun and humorous and more tongue in cheek, and sort of create these sort of um, playful things that you wouldn't normally expect with a zombie game. And I just think that's a lot of fun. I like the humor, and I also love the sort of the accessibility with the game. Something I'm really proud of, like I said, the replayability and how the game has all these different ways to play depending on the experience. That's something that is important to me is having a game that can apply to different situations, different player counts. How you want to play, how long you want the game to be, what sort of like style of gamer are you? Are you a heavier gamer? There's another game mode within the game that is called the mutated mode, where you can build your own town. There's a blank side of the board, polygonal tiles, and you can essentially build your own board, creating another level of depth and strategy. And there's a little bit denser volume of play with that other mode as well. So I'm definitely stoked about how fun and sort of tongue in cheek it is, considering the zombie genre, and also like the accessibility and the different sort of all the replayability in different modes. I just think the game has a lot to offer.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds like it. So I was going to say one of the things I found interesting is kind of taking off on what you were talking about with that sort of fun, sort of campy, cool thing that you've got going on is the art. I think the art, at least so far, what I've seen, kind of keeps with that theme. So how did you approach the artistic design
Yeah,
for the game?
I wanted the there's this kind of an interesting dynamic with some of the art. Some if you look at there's these living characters within the game, and they have their own. Each living character that you encounter is completely unique. They have their own sets of stats and attributes and bonuses, and the artwork with those characters is kind of it's a little bit it has a different sort of almost a little bit different of a feeling than some of the other art elements in the game because I wanted to sort of create this like thematic contrast between the reality of these people in their lives and then sort of the fun like tongue in cheek part when you're playing from the zombie perspective that sort of skewed reality. So when I was working with the art, figuring out how what kind of sort of style I really wanted to focus on, I wanted to keep it light. I wanted to keep that sort of fun, playful thing in there. And so when I made zombie things that, if you were, you're building these images that maybe of body parts or whatever, or limbs, because there are these themes and ideas of zombies and their limbs. You're losing your limbs throughout the game, or you're gaining limbs, and these things are sort of happening that would normally could be depicted very violently and very gory. I wanted to make it very cartoony and sort of stay with that playful theme. And so I've definitely gotten some feedback that that's sort of a positive sort of chair that you sit in throughout that game is that you have this tongue in cheek sort of playful thing happening and it's kind of pulling through a lot of that art. It's kind of this cartoony sort of laid back kind of silly looking imagery and not really not really super dramatic art, not like massive scenes, stuff like that, just light and sort of playful and easy to sort of
Yeah, and I do think that comes through in the art from what I've seen. So talk a little bit about the Kickstarter. So you're in the middle of it right now. As things become funded, what can people expect? Are you thinking of any additions or anything you might add on if it if it gets a lot of legs and you get really far into
Yeah,
that?
the Kickstarter, yeah, we're in the midst of it now, a little over a week in, and a little bit of a slower start, not completely discouraged, trying to keep the head up, got a lot of other momentum and kind of some other things going on, so we're trying to definitely push forward for a little bit and see how things play out. And we'd love to sort of start unlocking some additional content. Like you said, if it does get some legs, I have some fun things I really would love to do. That mostly some of the most fun things. I mean, obviously people can expect some of the normal opponent upgrades. I'm not going to focus too heavily. I did try from the get go. I'm trying to have a decent amount of quality to all the components at the beginning. There are the player cards, which are you might expect like there's player boards, which is a thicker chipboard, but I have started the game using these player cards, which are thinner, sort of like heavier card stock, but very easy to upgrade. That's one of the first component upgrades I would definitely want to start with is just adding some more rigidity and some more sort of strength and durability to those player cards. Not going full chipboard, not going all the way up to player boards because of the amount of of course space and weight and how those take up, but definitely an increase in the
Oh
the uh,
yeah.
the quality and thickness of those. And then beyond that, the thing that I'm most excited about and I've been working on, and love to work on, and to add more to is just content. The game is designed and lends itself very easily to expansive play through the co-op mode or even the solo mode, where it's easy for me to write up these fun and interesting thematic sort of missions or scenarios. So in the co-op mode, I am working on a sort of a starter pack, a base pack of because in the future, if things go well with Lonely Undead, I'd love to keep expanding and releasing more like solo missions and other packs that are easy to add on, add other buildings you could use to make the mutated mode more expansive, and sort of create this like story and lore as you work through maybe a solo campaign or have a little scenario pack for co-op so you could try different difficulties of scenarios that have very specific objectives and where you need to what you need to accomplish while playing the game. The systems in place lend themselves very easily to that, how I designed it from the beginning. So I would love to try to get to some of that content because I just think it's a lot of fun and of course adds to the replayability.
Oh yeah, and I can see where, like you said, it just really sets the game up to just keep adding on as people get excited and get engaged. You can have that flexibility to keep adding things to it to just keep it more interesting. So I think you've talked about this a bit, but what is it really about Lonely Dead that you think makes it stand out from other games that you feel is just going to keep people coming
Definitely
back?
the interesting, refreshing take on the zombie trope, the zombie theme is definitely the strongest thing. I think that people really, when they read something about the game or they hear about the game, that's the thing that really like gets them interested and really like stands, sort of stands out the most. You hear zombie game and there's kind of like oh, okay, but then you're like, the next tagline, the next thing you hear is, oh, you're actually playing from the zombie perspective, and then it kind of piques a little bit of interest. Someone's like, oh, okay, well, how does that work? And then it's like, well, actually, you're not like going around trying to like kill humans and eat brains or anything. You're actually going around, and the goal is to not kill people, but actually to make them your friends. You're trying to convert them into zombies in a sort of playful, interesting, sort of different perspective. And that right there is when people are usually like, "What? Like that's kind of wild and zany." Like, okay, well, I want to learn more. Like, so I think being that sort of immersion into a unique and refreshing sort of theme definitely helps it stand aside. The humor and the light and the lightheartedness, the quirkiness of it helps add to all of that once you start getting immersed in the game itself. But that theme right at the gate really helps it stand aside for sure. And then beyond that, there are some really fun and interesting things with the gameplay itself. There's a couple of mechanisms that I've been told, that really stand out from other people when people play the game and creators have worked with the game and done reviews and stuff. There's a couple of things that stand out that people are like, whoa, like this is an interesting dynamic element that adds a different level and that I've never really seen in a game or that haven't really like seen and used in this way in the game, because you are doing this competitive mode where you're trying to make friends, but as we had already discussed, you have this AI phase of the game constantly fighting back at the same time. You have to kind of stay on your toes and be more aware, but you can also utilize that AI system to your advantages. There's different like depth and strategy sort of things you could do with it to manipulate it. Say, I'd mentioned cars moving through town and dogs chasing you. Those are some of the really fun ones. But you could manipulate the system. There are cards in which you can choose the direction in which the car goes through, or there's you have the card that'll help you a resource that'll help you mitigate a die roll. And so let's say your opponent or another Z is in the road and a car is coming through town and the car is activated, but you change the die and you make it actually go through the direction that could hit your opponent or the other people in the game, therefore causing them an ailment or causing them to lose a limb. So creating those sort of thematic interactions utilizing those systems, I think is just a really fun and interesting like way to play the game.
Oh, that is. It sounds fascinating, and like you said, I think it gives an opportunity for beginners to get engaged and really just kind of have a fun sort of time. But those people that want to be really deep strategists, to give them an opportunity to get together with some like-minded people and really, really get into how do I manipulate this and get what I want.
I think the
So,
game actually does that really well. I mean, there's a base side of the board. There's double printed sided board. So one side is blank that you can use with tiles to build your own town, and then the other side is printed and it's designed to create sort of a quicker game, an easier setup for like more entry level players, more lighter players, or even just situations where people want a lighter game. Throw it out. It looks like a lot because there's a lot of components. But once you like run through, a little bit of the setup and some of the beginning of the rules, you're like, oh, okay, pretty straightforward. I have actions. Here's my actions. I got to do these actions, or I can do a combination of these actions on my turn, and then it moves on. And so you're like, oh, okay, well, pretty straightforward once you get going. So I think it lends itself to beginning gamers, and people would even say, sort of entry level gateway game if you wanted it to be. But then it also lends itself, as you had mentioned, and I had previously mentioned, there's deeper levels of play that you can easily get into and find out as you start to work with it.
yeah. So, is there anything else you want to share about this game or your company that you guys have formed that we haven't covered
I really
already?
believe so. I definitely, some of the values of Dead Lemon Games, the company I kind of formed to sort of launch this game. I have pretty strong values in the benefits of playing games, the health benefits, developmental benefits, mental health benefits, how it's good to help people, socialize and work in, cognitive abilities and cognitive growth, as well as learning how to problem solve, work with others, learning how to sort of break out of certain, anxieties and OCD strains and things like that. The benefits of games are extremely important to Dead Lemon Games and me as a person. And so, the only thing I would say with that in mind is that, this game is designed to lend to those experiences to help create these moments where people can just have a good time, laugh, and get all those benefits. And I just encourage people out there to just play games. If you help out and support and jump on board with Lonely Undead, that's fantastic. But if you're not a big gamer, you're interested in gaming, just give it a shot. Get out there and then just enjoy those experiences and enjoy the benefits of games.
Oh, absolutely. And I know we can all use a little bit of that coming out of this pandemic, a little more time with friends and just having like you said, a good time, good reason to get together and just do something and have fun. So,
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
all right. Well, Shelby, it has been a pleasure talking with you
Yes,
today.
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you leave a review of this show wherever your favorite place is to find podcasts. Oh, and by the way, give us a like on our Facebook page. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest while you're at it. If you haven't looked recently, make sure you catch up on the blog at wiscodice.com. Hey, Brian, what's that site?
Ah, darn, I forget. Justin, what's our website again?
Wiscodice.com.
That's right, it's wiscodice.com. And until next time, everyone, peace out.